My amplified unit, top of the morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you guys are in the world. In fact, for most of you guys, it's probably going to be the evening, maybe even into the nighttime hours. I know this is getting out to you guys very late on a Sunday evening, but I found some time, got a fresh coffee, did some business here in the office studio, and realized I still got an hour before my next endeavor. I might as well shoot the shit with my amplified unit. So that's exactly what we're going to do. This is not going to take more than an hour, not even a half an hour. It's just a quick vid. Of course, every time I say that, we end up going a half an hour. And when I say it's not going to take an hour, it goes an hour. So maybe I shouldn't say anything. But I do want to touch up on the Sasha Banks Naomi situation. You guys know this is a pro Sasha Banks channel. I say it all the time, which means we just love Sasha Banks on this channel. Not just because we're fanboying out. It's because we truly feel she's the best women's wrestler on the fucking planet. That simple. I mean, it's for BC and so many others. It's not even close. But everybody is going to have their preferences, their favorites. It's all in the eye of the beholder, but if you truly know how to critique pro wrestling, Sasha Banks is just far and beyond everybody else. She just checks off so many fucking boxes. The only box that you could truly say she would need some improvement on is, of course, on the mic. But you can say that about 99% of every wrestler these days, male or female, or whatever the hell you identify with. It's 2022. I don't even know anymore. But it's a pro Sasha channel, and we're so high on Naomi, too. Naomi is just amazing at what she does, because when you look at Naomi for the past 10 years in WWE, and you look at her matches, she's usually always the talking point. I always say she is the highlight reel in nearly all of her matches. And it's a shame that she's only had 2 singles championships on the main roster. It's incredible. And then you look at Charlotte Flair. It's not even shade. I say that all the time. It's not even meant to be shade. It's just Charlotte we're talking about 14 times. And Naomi is just as, if not even more athletic. And when you talk wrestling, you're not going to sell me that Charlie is better than Naomi. You're not going to do that. Because of a natural selection. Because she could do a moonsault, so can Naomi, and then so much more. She could do a cartwheel? Which is it? Because Charlotte Flair is one of the worst actual sellers in pro wrestling. She doesn't even like to sell. Charlotte always likes to be in command, always on offense. She cannot stand selling. She's decent at it when she wants to. It's just she doesn't ever want to. So you're not selling me, man. It took me a while to even come to that realization, because people automatically just put Charlotte in front of Naomi as a better wrestler. But when BC's thinking about it, as somebody who knows how to critique pro wrestling, I finally one day had a moment of realization, an awakening, a moment of clarity. Naomi is better than Charlie. And of course, Sasha Banks, I always say she's the common denominator in everybody's best match. Ronda Rousey, her best match was Sasha Banks. Asuka, you could argue the best match was Sasha Banks. Becky Lynch, their Hell in a Cell match from, what was it, a couple of years ago, whatever that was. Becky Lynch, you could say Sasha Banks was her best match. Charlotte Flair, several times her best match, Sasha Banks. Bayley, several times. New York takeovers, for instance, Sasha Banks. Io Shirai, one of her best matches ever, Sasha Banks. I mean, do I really need to keep going? It's basically everybody. It's a common denominator. So that's why we're so high on people like Sasha and Naomi. Just to reiterate, because it's been a while since we really talked about Sasha and Naomi, since they walked out. Justifiably, WWE tried to say it was unprofessional of them. No, unprofessional is fucking your paralegals, fucking referees, fucking your talents like their head guy, whether he's the COO or not, CEO or not, whatever letters he wants to put up. You know, Vince McMahon has been more unprofessional than anybody in World Wrestling Entertainment, but because 2 talents think that they're worth more, 2 talents want to be established well more than they've been, because money isn't everything to them. It's their talent and what they know they can offer. knowing that they've been lied to several times by McMahon and no longer wanting to do that game, play that game anymore. I commend them for doing that. I don't condemn them for it. I commend them for walking out. I wish more people had the balls to do such. Because for some people, it's not all about the money. And they tried to frame Sasha Naomi to be unprofessional because it's a TV show. It's all just planned, scripted entertainment, and they didn't want to play their parts. That's bullshit, bro. This is more than just a TV show. Pro wrestling is unlike anything else in this world, and there's deep emotion to everything, an investment into everything they're involved in. Whether it be a promo, a match, a storyline, it's their career, and they take it oh so seriously. And Vince knows this. If they didn't take it so seriously, why every time somebody becomes world champion, when they get to the back, is the whole roster waiting there to applaud them, hug them, embrace, in tears? The new champion is in tears. This is backstage. This isn't part of the show. It's because there's true emotion into what they're doing. You work your lifetime for some of these wrestlers to get that pinnacle moment when you receive the championship in a main event match. Those moments are what you dream about and you build upon your career to one day hopefully achieve. There's so much emotion put into it. The blood, the sweat, the tears, the broken bones, the risking your lives show after show, day after day, night after night for culminating moments so that one day when you look back at your career, you can say, damn it, I put my all into it, and those are all my accolades. Those are all my achievements. I earned it. I earned the right to be the top person or one of the top people in the company. When you're as good as Sasha Banks is, even Naomi, but Sasha Banks for sure, and your list of accomplishments don't even equal half of the singles main roster titles that somebody like Charlie Flair has, that's not an issue to you? It's just scripted television shows, but you see, Sasha's being just an immature jerk. She needs to get back to work. Seriously, bro? Naomi's throwing a temper tantrum, so she's got 12 less championships than Charlie. Who cares? It's scripted television. Then you won't mind Charlie, who till this day has not had a connection with the fans. No connection at all. Aside from her actual fan base, which every wrestler has. The rest of us, there's no connection. They tried to turn Charlie Flair heel and face 17 times. Each time it doesn't work. Asuka, at one point in her career, while she was a singles champion, had to hold the hand of Charlie Flair. And that was right after holding the hand of Lana for several months. And then when Charlotte came back, Vince booted Lana and had Asuka try to give a rub to Charlotte Flair because they knew everybody loves Asuka, so they were hoping everybody was going to love Charlotte when she came back. Within just 14 days, they saw that fall flat on its face. You cannot force a connection. And to this day, 6 to 7 years later, and 13 or 14 title reigns later, there's still not a connection to Charlotte Flair. That's sad. Meanwhile, Sasha and Naomi will put insignificant, irrelevant tag titles on them in a non-existent tag division, and we'll hope that they believe that they're prestigious. Meanwhile, all the main events, all the main titles, all the accolades, that's going to go over to Charlotte, and maybe we're going to push Lacey Evans. How do you think that's right? It's not. When you know you're the best at something and you keep being given dog shit, at what point do you stand up for yourself? If you're working at the local supermarket or the local Walmart or the local Lowe's or Home Depot and you know you're the best employee, you're doing the work of 2 to 3 people while fucking you got Timmy and Jerry over there twiddling their fucking thumbs or with their thumbs up their asses, but yet they're right, they ain't doing jack shit, but yet they are employee of the month. Timmy gets it in January, Jerry gets it in February, and then Timmy gets it again in March. You're over there doing the work of Timmy, Jerry, Donnie, Becky, Johnston, Luigi, Fuckwad Fred, dipshit Dugenheimer. You're doing everybody's work and you're not getting any fucking accolades. At what point would you say, wait a second, I'm done, bro? I'm sick of just doing my job here, bro. I'm not getting any fucking credit. I'm going above and beyond. I'm clearly the best one you have, and I'm getting paid the same. In fact, Timmy and Jerry are probably going to get a raise before me. So let's strike a deal. I don't even give a fuck. Give them the raise. I don't care about the money, but at least put my fucking picture up there. Give me the extra fucking week of vacation as a bonus to say thank you. Give me something. Company fucking voucher movie tickets just to say you respect me. Something for giving you my all. Nothing. Right? If you were at your job and you saw the dipshits, the fuckwads, passing you by when you know you're a million times better than them, how is that acceptable? Sasha and Naomi work their asses off to be some of the best, in Sasha's case, the best. So you have to treat them accordingly. They don't work their asses off more than anybody else just to play around in a boat full of lies, because that's what McMahon did when Sasha and Bayley had the titles and he promised them a significant, relevant tag division. In a significant and irrelevant title reign. And he lied. Went right over to the Iconics with no plan. There still was no division. And they were like, what the fuck? So then Vince was able to get Sasha back. And after another year and a half of fucking obscurity, or not using her to the best of her potential for sure, then Vince puts Sasha in a tag team with Naomi and gives her the same lies that he gave her with Bayley. We're going to give you and Naomi the titles. We're going to act. McMahon's going to act. He's going to sell you that he's going to create a real division. But he tells Sasha and Naomi that he's going to create a real division this time. There's going to be an actual significant title reign. And you're going to see that we changed. And what happened? The tag titles were just as irrelevant because there was no tag teams created, which means there was no tag team division. It was still non-existent. Vince McMahon lied to Sasha twice. Now, if you go to her social media, you look at her pinned tweet, look at her pinned, on her fucking tweeter, you will see a pinned tweet, and it literally shows her and Naomi with the tag titles that they just won. And that caption says, "You best believe this time I'm taking it personally." What do you think that meant? This time, I'm taking it personally. The first time, I came back because I was professional. But now you're feeding me the same lies. It's the old saying, right? You fool me once, shame on you. You fool me twice, shame on me. I should have never gave you the chance. So she said, I'm going to give you a second chance. But this time, it'll be on me. I'm taking it personal. It's going to be on me this time. That's what her fucking tweet says. It's pinned. It's right at the top of her fucking page, bro. So here we are, right? Now that's a whole cold open to where we're getting, all right? That's a cold open. I said it wouldn't take a half an hour. The cold open went almost 14 fucking minutes. So it might go a fucking half an hour. But that's a setup to why this is even a pro Sasha and pro Naomi channel. Why we fucking are so high on them. And why we are fully in their corner. Why we think how Vince McMahon treated them, why they were there for so many years, for all of their careers, is absolute bullshit. And they had every right, justifiably, to walk out. In fact, I'm surprised more people don't. And when they did, now all of a sudden, Vince wants to expose the business more and say we're just a scripted television show and they were unprofessional. Making sure that everybody turns their backs on Sasha and Naomi. That's bullshit, bro. You lied to them. You treated them like shit. And when they walked out justifiably, you threw the temper tantrum, Vince. That's what happened. So where are we now? Let's move forward with this, all right? So now where we're at is all these reports, everything. The reason BC has not been talking too much about this is because there is no concrete evidence, and every fucking dirt sheet and once reputable source is now just reporting on everything. There was a picture recently with Sasha Banks and Bayley at a concert, just enjoying a show. enjoying a nice night of fucking music. And all the stories now is that Sasha's training with Bayley. What's on the horizon? An imminent Sasha return to the ring. How do you got that from a concert, bro? Sasha Banks has an autograph signing under the name Mercedes, in parentheses, Sasha Banks. Confirmed Sasha out of WWE. Where are you getting this information from, bro? You guys remember a couple months ago, it was Sasha and Naomi have been released. WWE has not yet announced it yet. Well, BC told you that's bullshit because legally you have to announce it. Your shareholders, everybody needs to know that top talent is no longer with the company. Otherwise, you're deceiving not just fans, you're deceiving your own shareholders. Right there on the legal outpost list, which is when you go to WWE.com and you see the roster list, Sasha Banks and Naomi are right there front and center with other photos as well. So you're deceiving the public, and you can't do that when you're a publicly traded company. So that's when BC threw the first red flag to that bullshit story. They can't be released if you still have them on the external public sheet. So then, a month later, what did the dirt sheets do when they were caught red-handed in a lie? They downgraded. They said, well, okay, it's true. We can't confirm that they're released. We can't do that, and it doesn't even look like they are. BC's right. So now what we're hearing, right, they had to change their story and make it more adorable with a bow tie on top. They said, well, they're internally removed from the internal roster sheets, right? They came up with this this wording that sounds accurate, but if you take a deep dive, makes zero sense because there's no such thing as an internal roster sheet, dumbass. It's called a show sheet, if that's what they're talking about. A show sheet is the sheet that the writers have to put everybody into their storyline sequences, right? Whether it's that day, a whole week of storyline, maybe, they don't do this too much anymore in WWE, but maybe a whole month-long storyline, right? Those are called story sheets. Those are show sheets, storyline-based show sheets, not story sheets. You can call them storyline sheets. I think actually Freddie Prinze, I believe, called them story sheets, right? Story roster sheets. Either fucking way. They're internally called show sheets, not internal roster sheets, because that's leading a whole fucking broad spectrum for everybody to question what that actually means. They're show sheets. That's the only thing that they could be talking about. Again, / storyline sheets. I believe Freddie Prinze and some others used to call them that, but they're show sheets. Of course, when they walked out, they were automatically removed from the show sheets. That has nothing to do with their roster spots. So that's the only thing they could be talking about. And then what just happened, man? When BC called bullshit on that as well, by the way. I called bullshit on the internal roster sheet removal because every sheet I was looking at still had their name on it. So what the fuck are these clowns talking about? So then we just got word, just within the last 48 hours, that people were sent an internal... Oh, there's your internal roster sheet. An internal survey. Surveying WWE fans on their likes of characters and individuals within WWE. Who they like to see, who they want to see more of, who they're most interested in. It was a big survey. Right? Now, these things just don't get sent out without legal approval. Right? It's got to be approved. Legally, just like what you see on the public page right now. If you go to WWE.com, the reason you see Sasha Banks and Naomi there isn't because they forgot to take them off. It's not because they released them a month ago, but they're holding off on announcing it. So until they announce it, they're going to keep them on there. No, that's illegal. WWE would lose so much money in a major lawsuit. Shareholders would be flipping out. You can't deceive the public. Keep people that have been released for a month, keep them on your public page, and then say, oh, we just didn't want to announce it. You can't do that. So they're obviously still a part of World Wrestling Entertainment legally. So this sends us to the survey. Okay, because now it said, okay, they're not released, but internally they're being removed from everything. Like Peacock, right? Peacock removed Sasha Banks' icon. They're slowly being removed from everything. Yet the survey, the internal survey that was sent out, and when I say internal, I'm saying not even every fan got it. You got to be on some type of list to even get the survey. That's how special this is, man. You got to be like the elitist of fans. And when they got this survey, Sasha Banks and Naomi were on the survey. All the questions. Who do you want to see more of? Who's your favorite wrestler? Who are you most interested in? Questions like that. Sasha and Naomi are on the list. So they're on the public list, the outpost that everybody has to follow by legally, right? That's the big one. They're on that list. You claim they're off of the internal list when they're literally, you can't even see it any more vividly. It's right there. Sasha Banks Naomi. It's right there on the internal list. The internal list is asking fans, surveying them. So they're on the outro list. They're on the internal list. What more do people need to see until they finally realize they're still signed to WWE? It is clear what has happened. Their contracts are frozen. It's clear that's the case. This is not the first time we've seen this. In fact, Sasha Banks and Naomi tried to play it as smart as they could. From what we're hearing is they only had a couple months left on their contract. Naomi, we're almost certain of that. As reputable as can be. Naomi had a couple months left. Sasha looks to be around the same time frame. She re-signed in 2019 when she came back from the first time she was really pissed off. And she signed a new contract. It was right around WrestleMania. We're guessing they're usually 3 to 5 year extensions. We're guessing she signed about a 3-year. So that would take it right around April. You probably tack on a few months for any mishaps, minor injuries, whatever, and Vince will extend that a month or two, whatever. That's not even under the terms of freezing. That's probably just an upfront agreement within the two. And that would probably take Sasha to around right where Naomi was, probably right around August. July, end of June? I'm guessing it's around the 6-week period, which is the same thing that CM Punk and Ryback did, right? CM Punk, Ryback, they took off with about 6 weeks remaining on their contract. Of course, Vince could have frozen that shit. It's in everybody's contract that he could freeze the shit out of it. And with Ryback, it was reported it was basically mutual. Vince wanted nothing to do with Ryback, just get the fuck out. We don't want nothing to do. We're not even going to keep it. We don't want you here. Ryback got das Boot. You can go 6 weeks early. So Ryback got a get out of jail free card. And I'm sure Vince looked at it as a bonus for him because he didn't want Ryback there. CM Punk left approximately 6 weeks before his contract ended as well. And CM Punk got no reprimands or repercussions. Vince McMahon probably did not want to pay the high end of that contract. So CM Punk loses some money, but he gets out of jail or gets out of prison. You know, you don't get to go past go and collect your $200. But at least Vince didn't try to hold him any longer. Vince knew that was going to be a sticky situation. He didn't want it to be too ugly in public, and he didn't want to pay that hefty contract that last 6 weeks. That's a pretty penny that Vince can save, nearly 2 extra months. So CM Punk and Ryback got off pretty easily. So if Sasha and Naomi were trying to replicate that, I don't think that was going to be the perfect motto to go by. I don't think Vince was ever going to let them go that easily. It's going to be more of like the Brody Lee and the Rey Mysterio situation. When Brody Lee was injured and Vince McMahon made damn sure that Brody Lee, when he came back, he was going to finish off the time that he missed. Or Rey Mysterio, 2014-2015 Mysterio, when he had something really big that he wanted to do in Lucha Underground for their upcoming season, and McMahon made sure that he froze the contract, and he made Mysterio do a bulk of that frozen contract, the bulk of time that he missed. Now, they were able to come to an agreement. Mysterio did not have to do the entire year that he missed, roughly, and he was able to go. But in that clause to let him go early, he still had to wait another couple of months, which means he missed that Lucha Underground season, I believe. So, I mean, we're going way back many years, but the Rey Mysterio and Brody Lee and so many others, that situation shows you that Vince can absolutely keep you for the time that you missed. Is that forever? Until the fucking dawning of a new day? Probably not. Legally, I'm pretty sure Sasha Banks and Naomi got damn good legal advice, and they know that Vince is not going to keep them for a fucking year. But they do know that Vince can absolutely fuck with them for the rest of 2022. And that goes directly with Sean Ross Sapp's Fightful report, where they're saying that Sasha Banks, or they reached out to Sasha's representatives, and Sasha is taking 0 wrestling gigs with any other promotion until at least 2023. That doesn't sound like it's coincidence, because you know Sasha is probably biting at the bits to get back in the ring. But Sasha knows legally, if it ain't with World Wrestling Entertainment, she's not wrestling anywhere else in 2022. Legally, there's not a way in this fucking world, underneath that sun, on God's green earth, that Sasha's going to be wrestling anywhere other than WWE in 2022. She knows it, Naomi knows it, Vince knows it. So that's why she postpones that. Now, maybe legally she's able to do contract signing somehow. And I don't think it's coincidence that it's in August. So she would have been outside of her contract. So is there wording in the contract where it's frozen wrestling-wise, but you can make a living for yourself in autographs? You just can't go by the Sasha Banks name up front. That's got to be in parentheses, formerly known as, or something like that, also known as. So maybe she can go and do the autograph sessions. Or is this a case where she's booking it, hoping legally she can get out by August, but will end up canceling the autograph gig? Do you know how many wrestlers cancel autograph gigs? It happens all the time, without repercussions usually, because there's not strict contract contingencies. It's not like a wrestling contract. When you're an autograph, a lot of these people are on handshake deals or word deals. You want to honor it, but if you're legally binded, you got to back out. So it's going to be interesting to see if she even does this August appearance or whenever it is. I believe in Chicago at one of those Comic-Con type of deals. But it sounds like Sasha and Naomi are playing the game here where they had about 6 weeks left. They've seen other wrestlers kind of get away with it one way or the other out of their frozen contract status. And they basically, for all intents and purposes, they basically got off not too roughed up. Almost scot-free. But I just don't think it's going to be as easy as like a CM Punk or a Ryback situation where Vince was more than happy to get rid of them because they ended up being a headache. I think he knows the value that especially Sasha and even Naomi has. But Sasha Banks, you just can't lose her just by going, fuck, we lost. Here's your papers. Go ahead. We don't want to battle. I think Vince McMahon is honestly going to try to keep Sasha Banks and Naomi. I would not be shocked if Sasha and Naomi stay with WWE, guys. I'm telling you right now. Would not be fucking shocked at all if they end up staying. Because they're still on every sheet. They're not gone from any internal sheet. If in the next 24 hours we find out they've been released, it's going to be because Vince allowed it. Because right now, mark my words, they are frozen. Those contracts are frozen, and they're at least, what that means, guys, that doesn't mean that, so they've been gone for if they come back in a year, that doesn't mean that they have to do a whole year, by the way. It's the length of the duration that was missed, and they did not or could not perform. That's the amount of time that Vince can freeze your contract. So, I just want to clarify that. If they come back in a year, that doesn't mean they have to do another year. That means that they would have to do, say, for instance, if there were 6 weeks left on their contract, they have to come back and do 6 weeks, just like Brody Lee, Luke Harper had to do. And Mysterio, that was way longer, but they ended up cutting a deal with Mysterio. But Mysterio had to still sit on the sidelines a little bit. But they would just have to come back and do their shtick. Now, Vince can absolutely make them do that. Vince McMahon could make them come back, fulfill your 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, whatever it is. Or if he doesn't want a messy public legal battle, he could just give them their walking papers. But as of now, no matter what dirt sheet is telling you what, new false bullshit story from some bullshit reporter or facade journalist, because it's not journalism anymore. These are tabloids at this point. And everybody is a tabloid writer. Making up fucking stories. Speculative stories. Just to try to get clicks, views, and eyeballs. Attention to their whatever they're writing or whatever their video they're putting out. It's all speculation, and usually it's full of shit. So regardless of what you hear, their contracts are frozen. And that is why you see their names on the legal public roster sheet that you can go right now to WWE.com. And that's also, guys, why now their second story that these bullshit journalists put out about Sasha and Naomi being removed from internal roster sheets, that's also why you're now seeing them on these surveys. The internal roster sheets, the show sheets or storyline sheets. Yeah. Oh, they're still on them. Being removed from Peacock didn't get away from that fact, did it? It's amazing that people are not seeing what's going on. Their contracts are frozen. If they have expired by now, which is the last report we got, then at this currently stated point in time, they are frozen. And the ball is in Vince McMahon's court. He knows he can't keep them forever, but he can keep them for a while. This is where it's going to be interesting, man. Is Vince McMahon going to let Sasha Banks and Naomi actually get out of his prison? Because that's what it's become for them. Or is he going to make them? Is he going to force them back to their cells? Time will tell. But that's the situation, guys. Hopefully that clears up, man, because there's so many there's so many contradicting stories. You know, they're being removed from X, Y, and Z, but I mean, they're on all of the main lists for WWE. Well, now you fucking know, man. This is one of those situations where Vince McMahon has maybe not the world in his hands, but he's got Sasha and Naomi in his hands, and Sasha and Naomi are going to try to play a legal game of chess and try to come out the victors. I think they think highly of their chances. You're seeing that, right? But it's also why Sasha and Naomi aren't really talking too much. Naomi's talking in like code on her Instagram or social media accounts. Naomi has to talk kind of in code with her displeasures with WWE. Sasha hasn't said a damn word, and that's legally binded by a frozen contract. I think it's clear what is happening now. The contracts are frozen. If you think they're going to any other company anytime soon, it's not happening. They're very much under WWE contracts as of today. That's the truth. If we find out in the morning they've been released, it's because Vince McMahon allowed it and pulled the plug and let them out of prison. But until that happens and we get confirmation from Vince McMahon and his World Wrestling Entertainment, you may not want to hear this, but I'm going to say it for a fourth time. They're very much WWE contracted as of today, as of tonight. Sorry if that sucks to hear. Sorry if you didn't want to believe that, but they are. That's why those letters are after their name on social media. You go to Sasha's little tweeter, Sasha Banks WWE. It's why they're on all their external and internal lists. Legally, if you're released, you're fucking gone. Legally, you have to be removed from every list immediately. It's legal shit. There's a reason they're still on all the lists. So it'll be interesting now to see the dirt sheets backtrack on their second story. Well, okay, we lied. They were never released. Okay, we lied on the second story. They were never actually removed from internal roster sheets because there's no such thing. They're show and storyline sheets. So let's come up with something else we can come up with, man. They're removed from psychological sheets, yes. Thinking about them is no longer allowed. That means they're out of their contracts. You can't think about them on the roster. They're off the psychological roster sheets. BC Amplified, man. Yo, there was some thanks button, man, down below. That super thanks button, man. There was several thank yous that came in on the last video that I put up. I think that was just yesterday, right? The SmackDown review. I'm going to compile that list. And I will give you guys a VIP shout out in my very next vid, which could be the Monday Night Raw review coming up. I'll try to even do maybe a live stream for the first hour tomorrow night. But you guys, I'll compile a list for my super thankers down below from yesterday's vid, and if there's any more today, and I will give you guys a shout out in my very next video. So anybody that left a super thanks through BC a coffee tip, I appreciate you guys, man. I didn't forget about you, and I'm going to give you a shout out in the next vid. I told you guys this probably wouldn't go. I'm trying not to go a half an hour. Well, we just went over a half an hour. You get BC talking about wrestling, we start shooting the shit, man. And then you get BC talking about Sasha Banks and Naomi, and I just have a lot to say. This is why I haven't made a lot of Sasha Banks Naomi videos recently. I want to have all my facts. I want to decipher the bullshit, and I love talking about them. But I really do gotta go now, man. Salute. I haven't took a fucking sip of this fucking awesome latte, by the way. A fucking beautifully made latte. I haven't even gotten a sip of this in 34 fucking minutes. I was talking wrestling with my amplified unit, bro. All right, guys. Check you until next time, man. Keep crushing out the weekend.